What we're going to learn about today is sleep. The whole purpose of today's topic is to talk about the number one cause of disease in this country. Hopefully, you guys like the sleeping baby. It's always a good thing. When we're children, we have no problem sleeping. I always used to say when my kids were little, I wish I could get back to when I was tired, I just fall out wherever I was. Didn't matter. Stroller, car, walking. I mean, it just seemed like they were always just kind of dead out. Didn't matter. But unfortunately, so many of us don't have that same luxury. So let's kind of jump in. 75% of Americans struggle getting adequate sleep. Now, this number should jump off at you. And the reason why it should jump off at you is two reasons. One, there's a lot of people out there that need the information that we're about to share. And two, there's a lot of people on this presentation that are going to get some benefit from it because you're going to learn some things that are contributing to that lack of adequate sleep. But most importantly, again, the number one cause of disease in this country for the most part is our lack of sleep and our bodies not repairing themselves or under a constant state of stress as a result of it. 50% of our American teens get at least 2 hours less sleep than recommended every night. That's right. Teenagers these days, we have situations where, my kids, when they were in high school, were, 3 hours of homework, plus extracurricular activities, plus select sports, plus. Before you know it, they're not going to sleep till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. They're getting up at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning to be at the gym or to go to their dance rehearsals or whatever the case may be. People just aren't sleeping as much, and these habits are starting now at a much, much earlier age. And this is going to cause lifelong related issues of obesity, heart disease, diabetes, and other things as a result, as you'll see. We want to jump into some interesting facts about sleep, because if you understand the facts, then you'll understand things that you may believe to be true that aren't necessarily true. But more importantly, you will get information that you can share with others. So let's kind of jump in. Did you know that the Guinness Book of World Records no longer records the longest period without sleep because it is considered too dangerous? That's right. The Guinness Book of World Records has determined that it is too dangerous to try and record the record amount of time people go without sleeping. Sword swallowing and glass eating are still okay, though. Yes, so apparently lack of sleep or prolonged lack of sleep is too dangerous, but you can swallow as many swords or eat as much glass as you want, and Guinness will still record your records for you. That's how dangerous sleep is. That should be eye-opening in and of itself. Obviously, it's humorous as well, but the idea is there are big issues out there with regard to depriving your body of sleep. This is an interesting issue. Humans are the only mammals that willingly delay sleep, and we do so in any number of ways, everywhere from caffeine, which is our favorite, to energy drinks, which is nothing more than caffeine spiked with sugar, which is going to result in some serious crashing later on. You name it. We do everything we possibly can to delay sleep, and we are the only mammals on the planet that do it. How long does it take you to fall asleep? Now, this is an interesting one because this is my wife and I always have this discussion. She thinks, hey, I'm a great sleeper. I can fall asleep in less than 5 minutes. And, she says, I always tell her it takes me, 15, 30 minutes of laying there before I actually fall asleep. And she says, wow, I'm the great sleeper. You have trouble sleeping. Well, you tell me, which one do you have? Do you have the less than 5 minutes or the more than 10 minutes? Which one do you think it is? Because here's the thing. If it takes you less than 5 minutes, you're most likely sleep deprived. More than 10, you have an ideal sleep pattern. That's right. See, most people would think if it takes you less than 5 minutes to fall asleep, hey, you're a great sleeper. You don't need sleep aids. You're perfectly fine. The reality is the reason why it takes you less than 5 minutes is because your body is absolutely exhausted. You're not getting good sleep at night. You may have sleep disruption or apnea-related issues that you may want to get checked out. There's no telling what it could be, but if you are the one that falls asleep in less than 5 minutes, you might want to check things out and make sure that you're not having bigger issues than you think. If it takes you more than 10 minutes, don't worry, that's perfectly normal. 75% of people dream in color. Yes, that's the number, but here's the interesting fact. Before color TV, the number was only 15%. See, life is lived in color. It always has been. It's just how things are. But when TV came along, all of a sudden 75% of people started dreaming in color. Reason why? The best hypothesis, because people spend so much time in front of TV screens, computer screens, phones, other things that are all color. It used to be that we were exposed to black and white TVs, things of that nature. Life was, the perception going through the eyeball was a lot of black and white, and that was the TV that we watched. So as a result, we dreamed in black and white. But the reality is most people now are dreaming in color. 1 extra hour of sleep instead of watching TV every night equals what? This is, again, my wife and I's constant battle. In fact, this picture could just substitute me and my wife. As like I said, these lunch and learns are all about learning. Sometimes I even get to teach myself some things, but honesty is the best policy, and this is me throwing myself under a bus, which I have a tendency to do very often. But here's the thing. If you just turn off the TV and sleep, that extra hour every night is going to help you lose 14.3 pounds per year. That's right. We actually lose weight while we sleep. It's a combination of fat, lean muscle loss, as well as water weight. But the reality is we actually do lose weight while we sleep. And simply turning off that TV and actually getting that extra hour of sleep will allow your body to repair, restore, and you will lose weight in the process. When infants are put to bed drowsy but not asleep, they are more likely to become self-soothers, which enables them to fall asleep independently at bedtime and put themselves back to sleep during the night. So, what does this mean? In other words, we don't have to wait till the little one's completely passed out to put them down. And I know it's hard. I mean, my son, I could put him down, he could be playing, within 10, 15 minutes, he'd be out, just sleeping. In fact, we got so comfortable with him that we decided to have a second one. And God love my Joe. She's amazing. She's an amazing little girl. But holy cow, boy, as a baby, if you weren't rocking her, holding her, doing something with her, she wasn't going to sleep. Just was not happening. But the reality is we did the exact opposite of what we should have done, which is put her down drowsy, not fully asleep. That way she could have become a self-soother and would have been able to sleep through the night a lot easier. And my wife and I would have gotten a little bit more sleep in the process and probably not had all those struggles. But if you can relate, if you are a new parent or grandparent, realize if they're crying as they're drowsing off to sleep, it's okay. They will become self-soothers, and you'll get through that process a lot faster. So I know it's hard, but just realize that's what the science says. 30% of Americans snore. All right, so I'm going to let this set in for a second because the picture says 1,000 words, but here's the reality of what this means. Primary cause of sleep disruption for 90 million Americans. That's right. So most or a lot of our sleep disruption comes from a snoring partner. That's just a reality. So if you are the snorer, you need to know this. Be cognizant of it. When your spouse or your significant other is trying to encourage you to do other things or anything to stop the snoring, realize this is part of the reason why. But most importantly, it's this one right here, which is a snoring partner will likely wake the non-snoring partner 20 times per night. That's an average sleep loss of an hour every single night. So yes, if you are the snorer, know that you're doing this. Even though it doesn't affect you, it does affect the person that you care about and love. And if you are not the snorer and you live with one, show them this information and tell them that you're not just nagging them or trying to give them unrealistic expectations, but you're actually trying to save your own life and that they should help out with that. 36% of Americans drive drowsy daily. That's right. 36% of people are driving drowsy on a daily basis. And a lot of these are on their commute, either to or from work, resulting in all kinds of accidents, issues, problems, and other things. Did you know that staying awake for 16 hours is the same as having a blood alcohol level of 0.05? It will impair your cognitive ability, your reaction times, and your ability to perceive your environment around you. 16 hours, it's a 0.05. But here's the thing. 21 hours, you have a blood alcohol equivalent of 0.08. You are legally drunk in all 50 states. That's right. Simply by staying awake for 21 hours, you pulled an all-nighter and now you got behind the wheel of a car. You are just as dangerous as if you had sat there and got yourself drunk to a .08 level. And most importantly, it causes 1,500 deaths per year by drivers falling asleep. That's right. 1,500 deaths a year are caused by drivers that fall asleep at the wheel. So let's talk sleep deprivation. This is what, the facts and the figures are all great. But, when you actually talk about what happens when we deprive ourselves of sleep, it gets pretty severe. Because then you start having things like the nuclear accident at 3 Mile Island. You have Chernobyl. You have Exxon Valdez. All of these things were attributed, all of these natural disasters were attributed to somebody that had lacked sleep. Sleep deprivation was the cause, or found to be the cause, or the reason why these natural disasters occurred. You're talking about 2 nuclear situations, and of course, the spilling of oil all over the place. I mean, all of these were avoidable simply by people getting the proper amount of sleep. Dysomnia. It's a disease that you should know about. It's the inability to get out of bed in the morning. You know anybody like this? They say, I'm not a morning person. The alarm goes off. They're hitting it 3 times. You have to get cold water to get them out of bed. In fact, you probably have a lot of teenagers that are just like this. The reality is this. It's an early warning sign of nutritional deficiency. That's right. So you need to pay attention to this very closely, because it's one thing not to be a morning person and be, kind of grumpy in the morning. It's a whole nother thing of not being able to get out of bed in the morning. That could mean that you have a nutritional deficiency that you need to really pay attention to. I mean, it could be vitamin C, vitamin D, K. I mean, it can be any number of B12. It can be any number of issues, but you need to get it checked out if, in fact, you have somebody that you care about, somebody that you love, or you yourself are one of these people that just simply can't get out of bed in the morning. Lack of sleep or sleep deprivation exponentially increases the risk of heart disease, diabetes, obesity, and depression. You know somebody who's suffering with high blood pressure or diabetes or is obese, or from a mood standpoint, maybe isn't in the best of moods all the time? Did you know simply by improving the sleep cycle, they can help improve those related issues naturally? Or if they continue down the sleep deprivation cycle, they can make those conditions worse, resulting in all kinds of major issues. At least that's according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The other thing is this. You need to understand how lack of sleep affects your hormones. 2 hormones in particular, something called leptin and something called ghrelin. And see, a lot of times people, they hear these things, they see these types of charts and things, and they're like, okay, how do I remember this? Because ghrelin is, when we're hungry, ghrelin is the hormone that's going in, leptin is the one that's saying, hey, we're full, and it's going to tip the scale. How is the scale balanced? Ghrelin is the one that's saying, hey, I need more food, I need something. And leptin is saying, nope, you've had enough. You don't need any more. We're all satisfied. All good. Don't do anything else. That's the balance. And it's hard to remember when you're going to talk about these things. But when you lack sleep, here's what it is. Ghrelin is your T-Rex. Leptin is asleep. That's right. When you're sleep deprived, basically your hunger hormone, or the ghrelin hormone, is out of control. It is basically running rampant, and the leptin hormone is not responding. It's not telling your body you're full, so you have a tendency to look just like this. You are the pig at the trough. You are basically eating everything in your sights. You are a member of the Clean the Plate Club. You are the one that basically cannot satiate the hunger because your sleep pattern has inhibited your ability to stop when you are satisfied. Let's talk about melatonin, because it's another hormone that affects our sleep. A lot of people will supplement with melatonin. The problem is once you get above, really 3 milligrams or 3 grams, you're really getting into that stage where it's becoming addictive, and or actually getting your body to a point where it is going to stop naturally producing melatonin itself, because now it's relying upon the supplement. But there's some other things going on. See, blue light is one of the greatest inhibitors to the body's natural production of melatonin. What is blue light? See, blue light, you need to understand, is that light that's right above the UV spectrum. Okay, so UV light is basically sunlight. Okay, blue light is right there above it, so it does the same exact thing. Blue light is basically telling the body, hey, it's still daylight outside, everything is still good. We don't want to produce melatonin because it's still daylight and we don't sleep during daylight, we sleep during the night hours, so don't produce melatonin or don't start getting tired. Blue light comes in many forms, but here are 3 of the biggest. Televisions. Got a television in the bedroom? You say, I can't go to sleep without a TV on? No, you can't go to sleep with the TV on. You may pass out, but you're not falling asleep. That blue light on the TV will inhibit the body's natural production of melatonin, thus inhibiting the sleep cycle. Do you have an alarm system in your bedroom? Most of those alarm systems, much to my dismay, are blue lights. As a result, that blue light in the bedroom will penetrate and get into your eyes and prevent you from being able to naturally produce your melatonin. So cover up the blue light. In fact, did you know there's about 15 to 20% of the population that can actually see these types of lights through their eyelid? You may be one of those people like me that when the sun comes out in the morning, even with your eyes closed, you can see the light and boom, you're up. Well, it's one of those things you're not necessarily seeing through your eyelids, but you can experience light through your eyelids, which will bring you out of your sleep state. And then, of course, the biggest inhibitor are probably the computers and or smartphones. You know, these things, and in fact, it's so bad. I mean, like Apple even came out with, you know, a nighttime shift screen now where it moves over to a yellow hue on the screen to try and avoid this blue light dilemma. That's where that comes from. Because so many people simply are attached to these things on a regular basis. They just can't get away from them. Speaking of cell phones, we're like Pavlov's dogs. So not only do we have the blue light issue with our cell phone, most people will take these phones and stick them right next to their head on their nightstand, and they'll try to go to sleep. Well, think about it right now. What happens when that thing vibrates, dings, makes a sound, or anything? Or you just haven't checked it in the last 5 minutes. I mean, you're reaching for the thing. I mean, we are addicted to this thing. Well, what happens when you're asleep and the thing vibrates? Yeah, you put it on nighttime mode, but guess what? It's still vibrated. Guess what? You're going to be pulled out of your deep sleep state, and you're going to be brought up into the first or second stage of sleep. So yes, it's going to inhibit your sleep cycle. The best thing you can do is turn the volume on, turn it up, put it in another room so that if you have an emergency call, you can hear it. But other than that, it will not inhibit your sleep cycle. That is the best thing you can do for yourself. Get away from this thing, or better yet, just turn it off. It'll wait till morning. Sleep aids. Now, this is a big one because these sleep aids is a cyclical issue, and you'll understand what I mean by that in just a second, but I want to make sure I cover it because these are affecting your sleep cycle every single night. Over 65 million prescription sleep aids filled every year and over 100 million over-the-counter sleep aids sold. Most of these sleep aids are addictive. They're habit-forming. They stop the body's natural production of melatonin. Now, why is that important? Well, when our body stops producing melatonin, it'll probably take about 2 to 3 weeks of not taking the over-the-counter or prescription drug for it to kick back in. Anybody want to go through 2 to 3 weeks of insomnia in order to get back to the body's natural production of melatonin? Not many people are willing to do that, so it becomes a true addiction. You can't sleep without it. You have to understand that you really can't sleep with it. Because here's the cycle. You can't sleep, so you take a sleeping pill. Tolerance increases, with tolerance, because that happens over time with all of these over-the-counter and prescription drugs, you have to increase the doses. That increased dosage creates the addiction. The withdrawal, when you try to stop, creates the insomnia, which, is returning. Now all of a sudden you created dependency, and it's just this cycle that just keeps going. Can't sleep, need drug, need more drug, need more drug. And before you know it, you're on the Michael Jackson track where you've taken sleep aids and assistance so long that now you're putting yourself literally almost under anesthesia just to fall asleep. That's how bad it can get. It really is a bad situation. You need to focus on getting your body something natural to help you fall asleep, keep you asleep, and put you into a deep sleep. That will help. But this dependency on over-the-counter and prescription drugs is getting out of hand, and obviously, as you can see with the numbers, is a booming business. So let's talk about the best thing that you can do for your sleep cycle. Hands down, the whole idea behind these lunch and learns is to teach you something, and I'm going to revert back to something that we have all experienced. All the parents out there, all the grandparents, everyone can remember back when we had kids, and how we got them to go to sleep. Every night, same time, always, we basically had the bath time. Did the bath. Then what we did is we sat down and we did some type of either singing to our kids or reading to our kids or doing our nighttime prayers or stories or whatever your thing was with your children. The whole idea was we were creating your bodies or the bodies of our children's circadian rhythm. The body was getting used to actually having a routine where it knew that at a certain time every night it needed to start producing melatonin, because we knew at that time we were going to take our warm bath. We were then going to start relaxing and start getting calmed down. We were going to get away from all the blue lights and everything else, and we were going to start getting into our sleep phase. And then once we got through with all that, our head hit the pillow roughly the same time every night, and we were off in dreamland within 10 or 15 minutes. That's the way we were designed. Unfortunately, as adults, we don't have these same patterns. We're watching TV, we're trying to get things done, we're trying to get a report done, we're in front of the computer, we're in front of our smartphone. It's always a different time. It's a Netflix binge issue that we're trying to deal with. Whatever the case may be, we're always moving away from a natural pattern of having a true bedtime. Well, if you really want to improve sleep, if you really want to get into a phase where you're not dependent upon any type of sleep aid or over-the-counter drug or anything else, then establish yourself a routine. Get yourself a routine, just like you did for your children, and start watching what happens. Now, in the first week, it's going to be hard. I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to be hard because your body's not used to it. Week 2, it's going to get a little bit easier. Week 3, you're going to notice a big change. By week 4, you will notice you start getting tired every day at the same time, but you will also notice something else. You have a lot more energy throughout the day because now your body has a natural rhythm that it's created and has the energy that it needs to sustain itself during the waking hours, because it understands and recognizes what those sleeping hours are going to be. So again, you want to improve your sleep cycle, that is the way to do it. Establish yourself a routine, stick to it for 4 weeks, and watch the improvement and how things change. The whole idea behind what we're doing here at ID Life is to provide you information so that you can learn, be better, improve your diet and lifestyle choices so that you can reduce your nutritional gaps. We all have nutritional gaps, but the idea behind what we do here is if we can give you the right information at the right time so that you can make informed choices, you can be better because of it, and you can actually have healthy living. The whole idea behind healthy living is just that. Diet and lifestyle choices leading to less nutritional gap, leading to your body doing exactly what it was designed to do, which is taking care of itself.